Senna just should be in a sec. There she is. Oh, Commissioner Basan should be in a sec. There she is. Ooh.
That was YouTube. It's okay.
Okay. I was like, how do I have an echo already? We will give everybody another minute or so to hop in. And then Sasha, feel free to start probably in another minute. Looks like we have enough folks in addition. Hi, Scott. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Glad I could make it.
Me too. I'm glad you're still standing. Or sitting, as it may be.
Lots and lots of sitting.
Sasha, if you want to go ahead and get started, it looks like we have almost all the people that told me they were going to be here. I'll keep an eye on the waiting rooms to make sure.
Perfect. Welcome everyone to the ABC Community Schools Partnership Board meeting. Today is Thursday, February 11th, and it is 8:47, so we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. Before we get completely started, I want to just do a little bit of house cleaning or whatever they call it. So I'm sure you noticed that we have changed from a meeting platform to a webinar platform. We may experience some technical difficulties, so we appreciate your patience in advance. So please use the chat feature to sign in with your name and organization or group you represent. You can do that now. This meeting is also being recorded and will be posted on the ABC YouTube channel. If you have questions directly related to topics being discussed or presented, please use the Q&A feature. It's on the bottom of your screen. For signing into the meeting and commenting to all meeting participants, please use the chat. So if you use chat, everyone can see what you're saying. If you have a public announcement for later in the meeting, please let Deanna know by using by noting your announcement and using the Q&A feature. So I'll go ahead and get started. As many of you know, ABC transitions board chairs annually in March. However, the city, the county, and APS make board assignments in January. So we're going to hear from our representatives today. We'll do a brief introduction of each person. And if you all would like to introduce yourselves and take a couple minutes, you're more than welcome. So I'll start with myself. I am going to be your board chair for one day and hopefully again in the future. My name is Sasha Pellerin. I am the Senior Policy Advisor on Education for the City of Albuquerque. So I'm here representing Mayor Tim Keller. I just wanted to share a brief story. As I did some research on ABC Community Schools, I was brought back to middle school. My mom was a community activist after years and years of my brother going to Rio Grande and Harrison and really struggling. She was recruited as a PTA member, and she ran the parent center at Harrison Middle School, which was a portable, like by the park at Harrison Middle School. And thinking about ABC Community Schools really brought me back to waking up super early in the morning and leaving really late from school because we were handing out food boxes. My mom had a clothing bank. She even did CPR certification courses for teens who were taking care of their younger siblings. And so for me, coming back and doing this work at this level is absolutely an honor and a pleasure. And it just really reminds me of the difference that we can make when families feel welcome at schools and also when the schools become the center of the community. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to our next representative and some of my colleagues. Ms. Councillor Basan, if you would like to introduce yourself and take a couple minutes, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I am Brooke Bassan, Albuquerque City Councilor for District 4, kind of up by the Northeast Heights. And I'm very excited to be on this board because I have 4 kids, all of which go to APS. So I have 2 in middle school and 2 in elementary school. I've served as president of our PTA at our school. I'm on the board, coincidentally, I try really hard to separate between council and PTA and make sure that but I am on the board with New Mexico PTA as well. So all of our children, for all of us, I think, feel the same way, obviously, but all of our children are so special and we need to advocate for them. So I look forward on figuring out a way to be partnering with the board and helping out on a professional role as a city councilor. But I grew up here in Albuquerque. I never left. There's definitely some struggles that make it challenging for all of us right now. And I'm so happy to be in this position to be able to advocate and help out and improve, I hope. So I look forward to learning more and helping out where you all need me.
Thank you, Councillor Bassan. And now Councillor Sena. I don't see her on my screen. We can come back. Oh, there she is. Councillor Sena, welcome. We can come back unless you're ready to just do a brief introduction.
Sure. Can you guys hear me? Okay, sorry, I'm having connectivity issues this morning. Had to rejoin. But again, my name is Lan Sena. I'm City Councilor for District 1. I got to meet briefly with Danette this morning about some of the background on ABC Community Schools. I'm a big supporter of all of our community schools and of our students. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Councillor. I'm going to turn it over to Bernalillo County and Mr. Grady, if you would like to introduce those of you who are representing the county.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. Hope everyone's having a good morning thus far. Good to be here. I just wanted to introduce, we have brand new county commissioner for District 3, Adrian Barboa is here, and we have Commissioner Stephen Michael Quesada, who is our District 2 commissioner that covers South Valley, Southwest Mesa. Of course, District 3 is our more urban district in Bernalillo County. So we're really excited to have them both aboard.
Thank you so much. And then I'll turn it over to Scott Elder, Acting Superintendent of APS.
Sure. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Scott Elder. We are fortunate. We maintained our same representation here. So we have 2 board members representing APS, Peggy Mueller-Aragon and Barbara Peterson, who are staunch supporters of the community schools. And they're all about it. So it's good to have them here. We also have a large representation group from the Albuquerque Public Schools in terms of executive leadership, including Christine Muir, Dr. Madeline Cernamarmol, and there's just a lot of all the community school coordinators that are here that, out there doing the work. So bless all them and thank them for all their work. And like I say, we're just so thankful for this partnership, and we're so thankful for the opportunity to build the community schools across the district and in the community. So we're here.
Awesome. Thank you, Superintendent Elder. So I'm going to go ahead and move on in our agenda. If we can, I would like to get some updates from the strategy committees. So we'll start with collaborative leadership, Barbara Peterson and Marjorie Krebs.
So Marjorie, I don't actually have any updates for this meeting. Do you, Marjorie?
Yes, I do. Let me pull up my notes. I apologize. I wasn't ready to go first. So just one second. There has been a lot of work going on from our committee. mainly led, well, I would say totally led by our community schools staff. And then there's been some work on our strategies. Excuse me. The first strategy is education and practice. And the work that we were going to do there is to develop and implement a training so that all for our educational leaders and for the support staff. And that is going to be prepared to use across all the ABC networks and possibly statewide. So really creating a model for that training. And the first community school leader network meeting happened on February 5th. There were 21 principals or assistant principals who attended. And this monthly meeting has the goal of supporting those leaders in community schools and a space for them to get to know each other, share ideas, and understand their role as community school principals that is different than just taking on a traditional principal's role. So with that, we really hope that we will help the principals understand the concept of collaborative leadership and be able to support each other in reaching out to members of their network to help provide the leadership for their school. The second strategy is student, family, and community engagement. And they're facilitating conversations with different groups to bring shared solutions to the table. And the first event for that was the big table that all of us were invited to. I personally did not attend, but maybe some others would like to comment on that. It was held on February 4th, and the focus was on communication and how to make sure that all of our partners are communicating and feel welcome to communicate their ideas and views, help provide some tools for them to work within a collaborative leadership structure. The last strategy is the co-creation of a process to onboard new community schools and to design a process to support the transformation of schools who would like to become community schools. And right now we're, the staff working on this are looking at best practices of how to change the philosophy and focus of a school and design that co-creation process for a community school, because it doesn't make sense for us just to say, okay, here's how to be a community school when we haven't focused on the community itself. So that onboarding process needs to be flexible enough so that each school can really put their personal label on it and yet have a strong foundation to work from. So, and thank you to Deanna and Danette, of course, for their leadership on the staff with all of this work. So.
Thank you, Ms. Krebs. And you're absolutely right. I actually didn't tee anyone up, so my apologies. I can open it up to some discussion or any questions if we need to. And before I do that, we'll be moving on next to robust implementation, equity and social justice, communication and sustainability. I'll open it up for a minute, but now you guys are teed up in order. Ms. Bernstein, if you would like to go.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We had our first meeting. It was very productive. Our strategy is right now to focus on holistic measures to identify the non-academic indicators of health, well-being, and success that can be incorporated into ABC's shared measurement system. We're going to review existing non-academic indicators, such as the indicators reflected in the new state data dashboard, if you're familiar with that. The goal is to get very clear on what we mean by holistic success. So in addition to compiling information on the body's work around effective community school implementation, we currently have 4 undergraduate UNM School of Population Health students conducting a beta test of the ABC Codebook Indicators of Implementation. I hope you followed all that. And then at our next committee meeting, we'll be taking a deep dive into the code book and its indicators to decide if they are the right non-academic indicators and whether we want to use them to measure robust implementation. And I think we see a lot of our work overlapping and connecting with the Collaborative Leadership Committee. So as we continue, we might be trying to connect with the work that Marjorie just reported out about.
Great. Any comments or questions? Thank you, Ms. Bernstein. We'll move on to equity and social justice. Rodney was unable to attend, but Mr. Anderson, if you would like to give a report.
Hi, everyone. Jeff Anderson here from ABC Community School Partnership staff. Thank you so much for giving me the time to update on what the Equity and Social Justice Committee has been doing. So the whole committee has met once all together and identified potential trainers for anti-racist and anti-oppressive trainers to explore. To better understand the landscape of what's out there and how we might be able to roll out recommendations and trainings for folks in ABC all the way from the staff to school level folks and everyone from the board to the staff to the school level folks and everyone in between. Since that first meeting, we've had the separate committee members have met with certain trainers, including the Anti-Racist Training Institute, Soulfire, and we also met with the PED's folks working on equity and social justice at the state level to understand where they're going and what direction they're taking their work to see how we might be able to align what we're doing with what they're doing to make sure it's stronger and more sustainable. So now that we've met with those different trainers, we're going to take that information back to the whole committee, discuss which trainer or which combination of trainers might be best to roll out across the network with the hope of beginning trainings, anti-racist and anti-oppressive trainings for folks in the ABC network in the next couple months here, and then using that shared collective knowledge to further on down the line, look at policies, procedures, and practices that the ABC Community School Partnership can change, can shift to become more anti-racist and anti-oppressive. So that's where we're at.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Any comments, questions? Councilor Bakwa.
Thank you, Sasha, and thank you. I don't see your name. I just see ABC Communities on the bottom. But yeah, thank you. Good to hear about this committee. I believe I heard that charter schools, which I know isn't told, that there was like a new state mandate that they had to start like some like justice equity councils in their schools. And I love hearing that y'all are doing this exploration. I also think just from the little bit of interaction I've had with some of the community schools here, like Whittier, and I believe Van Buren, that there are folks within your own network that have racial justice and anti-oppression training. So maybe you already reached out to them and I'm just new to the day, but yeah, I just wondered that there's also people within the network. And then I wondered the connections between what the charter schools are doing. And I also have heard, I think it was Artie, that Families United for Education was like training principals and now on to trying to get vice principals trained in anti-racism training. So yeah, maybe this isn't the space or time for all that in-depth update, but I guess I'm just, it came up to the top of my head.
Commissioner Barbo, thank you so much for bringing that up. And you were right. And that's actually where some of our connections with Soulfire and Artie came from, was from folks that have already been training and working with people in the ABC Community School Partnership Network, because I know Soulfire is working with United Way who is on our board, as well as the Albuquerque Community Foundation and other community partners. And then, yeah, Artie is working with APS, and several of the community schools and community school coordinators have taken their training already, which is awesome. So a big reason why I wanted to meet with those folks is to see, how we could align it, to see, because we work with not only school staff, but partners and, as the county and a bunch of different entities. So kind of seeing how the work that's already being done, how can we align with that and build on that, and make sure that we're not trying to go in a bunch of different directions. So, but I would love to chat with you more about this if you're interested. Definitely feel free to send me an email, or we can set up a time to chat about it, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. It sounds like you're looped into a lot of stuff. So I would definitely love to pick your brain about what's going on.
Well, and if I could jump in just for a moment. So this is Scott Elder from APS. So it's not just the charter schools that are working with the equity councils, it's public schools across the state. So we also have a district equity council, and Dr. Madeline Cerner Marmol would be a great resource if you want to learn more about that, and on the APS side. Also, APS has committed and funded anti-racism training for all of its principals, and they have completed that, and that is through Artie. Also the leadership level, that's me and my cabinet have begun that training as well, and actually have completed the introductory level. We are now working our way through all the assistant principals, and we're looking at finding a way to fund it for all our teachers moving forward the next few years, so that eventually at some point, all the adults will have worked through the anti-racism training through Artie and the People's Institute. Along those lines, we're also pushing very hard on the higher education institutions and saying, look, this is something that has to become part of your curriculum, so that teachers come to us with these skills and with this knowledge prior to getting into the classroom. So there's a whole lot there. And again, if you want to know more about it, I would suggest reaching out to Dr. Cerner Marmol.
Thank you, Superintendent and Commissioner Balboa. We're going to move on next to communications, which is Peggy Mueller-Aragon and Sam Garcia.
Thank you. So we had our second meeting this past Monday, and we are continuing our work on developing and the implementation of a real formal communication plan that we really want to be able to magnify the voice and tell the stories of our community schools. We also covered the big table, but Dr. Krebs already talked about that, so I'm just going to skip over that part. The other part that we talked about is we looked at the communication audit that was done, and what we talked about is just figuring out what's already there. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. So what can we use, what doesn't apply? But what we really are concentrating on is trying to tell the story of community schools and finding out what kind of vehicles we can use to make sure that we do that. One of the things that we did talk about is that there really isn't a clearinghouse for these stories, and so we need to figure out how we can distribute the stories in a way that we don't end up losing them because of all the layers we have to go through to get those approved. And then really at our next meeting, what we really want to do is solidify and pinpoint really who our secondary and primary audiences are, understanding that those may shift depending on what the message is. So we'll be meeting again in about a little bit less than a month. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Mueller-Aragon. Are there any questions or any comments? Perfect. We'll move on. Next is sustainability with Mr. Grady.
Hi. Before we move on, it looks like Commissioner Quesada has his hand up.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Enrico. I wanted to kind of give an update on what we were doing at Bernalillo County before Enrico started. As you all know, I started as an APS school board member, also a charter school governing council president. And I come from YDI, which is Youth Development Incorporated. I did the gang intervention programs there for many years in the 80s. And so one of the reasons why I moved on to Bernalillo County and became a county commissioner was because I really wanted to see what I could do to assist community schools and especially school-based health centers. So I just wanted to let you know that I've been advocating for school-based health centers through my position at Bernalillo County, and that we have been able to, through the behavioral health tax dollars, be able to lock down $800,000 reoccurring funds to help start and continue school-based health centers. Some of the ideas that I want to bring to this particular board, the ABC's school board, is to look at how best to use those dollars. I have some ideas on maybe even starting a mobile behavioral health RV that we can go to schools that don't have the facilities for school-based health centers at the time. And so that we can offer those on certain days. And so then we sort of have a roaming school-based health center moving around the district. So some of those ideas I would like to be able to discuss in future meetings, but I wanted to say that now so we're all aware of those dollars and how those dollars can be allocated to further the school-based health centers throughout the district, because I just didn't want to forget. So that's all the time I'm going to take now. I guess we can discuss that further, maybe in another meeting or, maybe on another day. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I think that's something that can be noted, and we'll move on to Mr. Gotti.
Hey, good morning again. So just a quick update. The Sustainability Committee has really not met since the last meeting. However, the team and the Communications Committee are working on a number of talking points. And we do meet jointly, and we're working on some talking points in the next few weeks to finalize a plan for a legislative push for the final action plan. The talking points are really designed to get to some of the key issues and to really help advocate and be able to be very, very succinct in our advocacy to the legislators. And it does appear that the outlook for funding this year looks quite good. So that's kind of the brief update of the Sustainability Committee. We look forward to continuing to meet and coming up with some really kind of key talking points in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to that.
Thank you, Mr. Gotti. We'll go ahead and move on. It looks like we're doing good with time. So we have a couple of items to vote on. The first one is minutes from January. So you all should have received the minutes. If you want to take a couple of minutes to get those out, or if someone has a motion.
This is Marjorie. I move that we approve the minutes from January.
This is Barbara. I will second that.
Do we need to do roll, Danette, or whoever can answer this, or how do we do the final vote via Zoom?
Technically, yes. But if everyone could, the votes in favor could raise their hand, then we can grab a quick screenshot so we don't have to.
I'm in the affirmative, Danette. I just don't have a camera.
Sorry.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I'm going to abstain since I was not in that meeting, so I can't really testify to whether the minutes are accurate or not. So.
All right, we have one abstention and someone who said she's in the affirmative, and we have a picture. Thank you all. The next item on our agenda is going to be the TENM letter of support, and Daniel Manzano will give us an update.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Daniel Manzano, Special Projects Coordinator for the ABC Community School Partnership. So the TENM stands for Transform Education New Mexico. And this is, I think, the last meeting the board voted unanimously to be part of the official steering committee of Transform Education New Mexico. So part of the steering committee, we have opportunities to either sign on to support what the bigger group's doing, but we also have the option to not vote or not jump on. So with that being said, right now there's more of, I guess it's a little controversial just because Senate Pro Tem Mimi Stewart has introduced a bill. And it's Senate Bill 148, and it's creating a diversity commission. And right now, Transform Education, we had many talks about it, and we're putting Transform Education New Mexico is putting a letter of opposition to this bill. We understand that the spirit and the intent was definitely well-meaning, especially with the response to the Martinez-Yazzie lawsuit. But it comes up short in a number of areas. One, it creates a commission with no power. And the timeline to creating fruit of this diversity commission is 5 years. And we feel like we need to talk, and we need change, and we need discussions now. And it also does, in the commission, it includes legislators, the executive commission. It includes a lot of people, but not necessarily pointed roles of people who are part of the Transform Education New Mexico. They're not including culturally, linguistic, education as people who are sitting on that board. There's already the Education Commission, the Indian Education Advisory Commission, the Hispanic Bilingual Education Act Commission. And so this just puts another layer of bureaucracy and commissions on top of things that it slows processes down, and at the end of the day, there's no power or teeth behind it. And so although we're in opposition, the letter does also say, and you should have a copy of that letter, it does also say that we're willing to sit down and figure out a better solution to the problem than creating a new commission. And so there's two, I guess my commentary is there's two trains of thought. One is Senator Pro Tem Mimi Stewart is a big advocate of community schools, and so it's hard to oppose something of her, but we're also a fantastic board. I'm excited to hear the energy that you all bring and the experience and expertise that you all have. But there's also a train of thought that we need to also stand up when something's not hitting the mark, and we're the subject matter experts on that. And so this vote would be to sign on as ABC Community School Partnership in opposition of Senate Bill, and then to say that we're willing to sit down and work to creating a better path to what the goal is. And so I'll pass that back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Daniel. So I'll open it up for discussion.
I want to speak for APS for just one moment real quickly here. When I saw this on the agenda and I clicked the link took me to a letter of support being written to Mitch McConnell and the Senate in regards to funding for the community schools at the national level. So I did not have this information in front of me, so I'm not sure I can offer any advice on this one because it's not what I was linked to or prepared to talk about.
Thank you, Scott. I just checked that, and I'll put it in the chat, knowing that you won't have time to read it. Maybe we can table it. I apologize for that. I thought I checked all the links. Apparently I did not. So I'm going to fix that right now.
So do we have a motion to possibly table?
Madam Chair, there
I
are
see two
some
hands up.
hands raised.
Okay.
This is Peggy. Is this, I know that what we were really concentrating on is sustainable funding. And so I'm just curious, is this something that we really want to do right now? Is it a letter that we really want to send? Just Daniel, in your, in your professional role, what do you think?
Well, we also sent out our, some legislative talking points and kind of the legislative strategy that we're doing. And our legislative agenda for ABC is comprised of 3 components. One, our number 1 focus is funding of community schools and sustainability. That's number 1, no doubt. We're also focusing on a high priority area around housing and eviction prevention. That's a bill and an area that we're really focused on because it really affects what we're seeing in our community schools. And then the third kind of tier of our legislative agenda is really kind of speaking to what Commissioner Stephen Michael Quesada said, really focusing on our partners. So advocating for school-based health centers, advocating for Transform Education, New Mexico, for our educators through AFT, just anything that kind of touches, and we've had partnerships that directly impact community schools. We're also advocating on that. And so that would fall in that last tier of just supporting our partners and, working through ABC to make sure that equity, diversion, inclusive practices are being occurred through the Martinez-Yazzie lawsuit. So that's my commentary. And so, those are my opinions. And so I'm open to wherever the board wants to go. This is in a way, not our most funding is, like you said, our most focused priority, but we also want to make sure we're supporting our partners.
And if we move to table, Danette, then won't it be a moot point because we won't have another meeting until March and the session will almost be over? I'm just wondering.
Yes, I think the other thing that I need to let you all know is that the actual the first ask that you would have received anyway was around the anti-discrimination around hair was the first ask of TNM. So just so that everyone knows that. And then I think we've got Commissioner Quesada also has his hand up, just so you know, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing your hands up on this end if you guys are doing it virtually. So we had Councillor Basan as well as Commissioner Quesada. So if you.
So I'll defer to Councillor Basan since she had her hand up first, and then I'll ask some questions after.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if you can repeat the House bill. Is the House bill number?
It's Senate Bill 148, sponsored by Senator Mimi Stewart.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we also had Ms. Bernstein and who had her hand up. I'm sorry, I'm reading messages.
That's okay. So I will take my turn now. I just saw that Councillor Basan had her hand up before me. I just have a couple of questions. Who would sit on this this committee that doesn't really have any power, but it's just an advisory committee? Who would be sitting on this committee, and does it reflect really what we're already doing at the ABC, GC plus APS? It just seems to me that we have a structure in place, but it just depends on what this legislation and who would be sitting on that. Can you give me that information?
Yes, board member Stephen Michael Quesada. So Transform Education New Mexico it's really a group of organized members and institutions and programs that are really focused around seeing the court rulings of the Martinez-Yazzie lawsuit come to actualization. And so like the UNM School Center of Law and Poverty and others, and well, they're not like a statutory powerful organization. They've accumulated a lot of political capital power as far as getting a lot of organizations together. And so that's part of the reason, part of the people we're serving, the students we're serving primarily fall into this category of students of at risk. And so in formulating how the family index models and formulating the parameters around how this money is spent, we've kind of jumped on just because that's the primarily, one of the big arguments going on right now is making sure that funds allocated to these at-risk students are not coming to the students at the end of the day. And so working with community school councils and the community school strategy really fits the vehicle of making sure funds and services are going to where they need. And so that's kind of why we thought it was a good idea to sign on as ABC partnership, just because we are a vehicle of equity in seeing the distribution of these funds. I hope I covered your questions. If I missed anything, please.
Yeah, I think you probably did the best that you could. I guess I'm just going to have to read it.
I think I might,
because I'm a little lost on what they're trying to organize, I guess, is where I'm lost in the whole organization. But I see that from your comments that, you know, it's bigger and broader than what we have in place. But I'd have to read it and see. But I have to tend to agree that, you know, if we're going to table it, it doesn't really matter. But we do have to be careful about, you know, what we're trying to do when it comes to sustainability, which is, you know, our funding sources. So I guess I tend to agree a bit on that. I just don't know enough about the legislation. So I'm going to have to, I guess I have some reading to do. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
can I just point of clarity? Just because Daniel, thank you for explaining who Transform Education New Mexico is. And Commissioner Quesada, I think question is Senator Mimi Stewart's bill is trying to form a diversity council that is outside of what Transform Education is asking for. And like you referred to, Commissioner Quesada, that this team already is doing. We just heard about all the racial justice and equity work they're doing. Transform Education is a group of folks who have circled around the Yazi Martinez case to really make sure that as that case moves forward to guarantee the rights of Native American and multicultural students, that they are naming this thing that this bill and council that Senator Mimi Stewart is trying to form as not in line with their mission to continue to push Yazi Martinez forward. So they are naming that, and it sounds like our board just joined that team of Transform Education New Mexico. One thing I did hear, and thank you, Councillor Mueller-Aragón, for naming, right, that we need to stay focused on, you know, making sure we have sustainability and funding. But we also, as Daniel mentioned, you all, at least not necessarily myself, but you all are experts on this subject matter. So while folks are working diligently to create and form and be in coalition so that we have what's best moving forward, it sounds like this bill that is trying to create another thing, and as Daniel said, more bureaucracy when there are lots of people working on this. I would suggest that I would like to make a motion that we sign this letter, and a little bit of explanation for it, right, is that I hear, and I also get worried and maybe I'll learn my lessons as a newly elected person, right? But that I hope that anyone would also, as much as we are aligned, that when I am not making a good decision or when we don't agree, that you would come to me and hold me accountable as an elected official, regardless, because there are many paths along this road where we're going to probably not agree or we're going to need further discussion. And I want that kind of feedback as much as I want the support for when we do agree. And I think that overall, folks agree that Senator Mimi Stewart is a steward of education. This is her jam. This is where she works closest with. But if a whole group of people that have been leading, that are people of color centered, have been following and trying to promote the how we move forward with Yazzie Martinez, then I would say that we follow their lead because they're deep in it and we've agreed that our values align with theirs, and that we follow their lead. And if this is the one time when Senator Mimi Stewart is pushed on a little bit, and that just means that this council is not foreign because we have many councils here and across the state, then I think that's okay. And again, I just ask us to think about, being brave. If we're building the world we want to see, there's going to be several times when we're not always in alignment, and how we get there is important. So I guess I can make the motion that we sign on to the letter as Albuquerque ABC Community School Partnerships.
Madam Chair, Board Member Peterson has her hand up.
Okay, I think we need a second and then discussion after the motion. No seconds?
I'll second it so we can have a discussion about it.
Okay, perfect. Board Member Peterson.
I certainly agree with the intention. I'm a little uncomfortable with signing this just because the reality of lobbying and the position that it puts Daniel in particular becomes really tricky. We could do something. I would be way more comfortable with something like another letter saying, a separate letter saying, we agree with some of the concerns that are in the Transform Education letter, that we want to make sure that we don't build more bureaucracy, that we stay focused with a sense of urgency, but would prefer to work with the sponsor to move forward with it, just because the complexity of the funding and our other priorities are so sharp.
Thank you for that. I have Ms. Bernstein and then Councillor Bassan next.
Thank you. I want to go back to a broader question about what does it mean to partner with an organization. There are a lot of bills, and an incredible number of bills that do and do not address issues of equity as framed in the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit. And taking a position as the ABC board on whether or not we agree with all of these bills and the path that they are choosing, and so as a partner, so Daniel mentioned that we as ABC partner with APS, partner with the teachers union. We certainly have bills that we feel strongly for and against in terms of the way it moves a joint agenda forward. But to actually analyze the ones that make sense to us as an ABC board, in conjunction with all of our partners, seems like a very complex and difficult thing that we're not ready to do. I can see if we are lobbying, getting information from this board so that I might be informed when I make comments about a bill, in terms of our focus and the focus of our partners. But I can't see taking a formal stand as a board against this particular bill or any bill, or for any bill. So I guess I'm speaking against the motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bassan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have not seen any information on this previous to this meeting. I have to agree with Commissioner Quesada on this, that I don't feel like I would be best suited to vote on whether or not we should or shouldn't proceed without knowing more about it, even though from everything I'm hearing, it sounds like once I read through it, I might be more comfortable with it, but I won't be able to place a vote for this.
Commissioner Barboa.
Yeah, thank you. Adrienne Badboa. It sounds like folks don't feel informed, and I think that's best always. We should not make votes when we don't feel informed. I know this is my first meeting, and I just want to be clear, right, that when we talk about why we wouldn't do something, like to not be informed feels right to me, but when we talk about it as complex or jeopardizing our funding, I'm going to push us all the time to not, there should never be a time when an elected holds retaliation and holds money because of retaliation or because they didn't like a way that we voted. So I'm just holding us to that conversation that there should never be a time that if Senator Pro Tem Stewart believes that and has committed funding and believes that we are a quality program and doing quality work, that's where we get our merits from. And when as matter experts, we have to raise the flag or push back, then I don't ever want us, and I would never vote for us being fearful because of retaliation efforts or because of relationships when we are the subject matter, or you all are the subject matter in this issue. And so I just want to note that. I think, I also want to note that folks don't know this. I know Transform Education New Mexico really well, and they have been the lawyers and the community, the organizations that are led by communities of color that have been leading this. So if we really want to address the root causes and changes we need, we have to follow the leadership of those experts, of people most impacted. And in this case for Yazi Martinez, those folks that are Native American and multicultural leaders in this field. So I just want to say that I understand that folks don't feel informed. So I'm not pushing on that in any way, but I do get worried when we have conversations and when we're not supporting the leadership of communities of color that have deep work in this.
Thank you so much. I did want to just make one more thing, especially we have new board members. ABC did vote to be on the steering committee of Transform Education New Mexico, but board member Bernstein did bring up, there was a caveat in there that we would bring things to you, and we had the option. We made it clear with Transform Education New Mexico that we're probably going to be set up in a place sometimes where we're not going to be able to sign on to things. And so they know that. And I think that's why they asked us if we're okay with it. And that's why we bring it to you, to make sure that clear back and forth is happening so that you guys are educated and you guys know, but we also do have clear communication with them too, that we're in a position where sometimes we're not going to be able to sign on to things. And I just say that because we have new board members, that was the caveat of signing on to Transform Education New Mexico. And I know we're running short on time. And so procedurally, there was a motion to pass and a second to sign on. And so.
Thank you, Daniel. So should we take a vote? Is that what happens next? Or, yeah? Okay. So.
The vote is on signing on to the bill in support of opposition.
And there was a second. All in favor, I guess we can raise our hands. Okay, we have Councillor Commissioner Badboa, Councillor Sena, it looks like. I'll also vote in favor, and then all of those who are opposed, if you can raise your hands. Okay, let the record show. Stephen Michael Quesada, Scott Elder, Ellen Bernstein. If you guys can keep your hands up. Peggy Miller Aragon.
And this is
And-
Yolanda Montoya Cordova. I'm also opposed, so you can't see me behind the camera.
Thanks. Marjorie Krebs, I think I have everyone. All right, thank you. So we'll move on to our next agenda item. I think there was a picture. I hope there were some pictures taken.
So I think the motion failed, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
sir, the motion failed.
The next one is not nearly as controversial. The next one is the ABC board formally signing on to the full service community schools bill. And this is a national bill. Let me pull it up real quick. I have it in front of me. This one is just signing on to the a federal package. I have so many different windows open, sorry. This one is signing on to a letter for passing and funding of the Full Service Community Schools Expansion Act of 2020, and includes the full service community schools as an allowable use of funding for public schools and school districts in the future. And this is just kind of what I've been saying and prepping. There's a huge push with President Biden in including community schools as part of his education platform and package. And so we're looking full service community school program that was a grant thing. It was funded at $30 million and it supported 54 communities. And now it's going to get just the Community School Act, Full Service Community School Expansion Act, which is Senate Bill 4865, is going to be reintroduced into Congress, and it's going to add 500 million, requested 500 million for fiscal year 2021, and increasing that over and over to getting to the 1 billion mark by 2025. And so we're signing on, and I think this goes hand in hand. We're also going to have Capitol Hill Day setting up too, where we're going to invite the board, and we're setting up, it's in March. I think it's March 25th. We'll send out information to let you know we're going to set up meetings with our congressional delegation and our senators, and really going to kind of go and promote about this kind of federal use of funding as this falls into one of our priority areas. Any questions regarding that?
This is Scott Elder. I don't really have a question, just a comment. If we don't get more money, we're not going to be able to expand these programs. And I think we all know the situation the state is in. And I think the work is incredibly important. And I point to all the community school coordinators that are here, and I sort of bow to them because of the efforts they're making in the community. Without more money, and this is where we get to the crassness of this. Without more money, we're not going to be able to expand. So I think I would be supportive of this, of signing on this. And I've always been a little uncertain. Am I an ex officio member, or am I a full board member that I can make a motion? You think I know this by
You're
now?
a full board member.
Okay, I'm a full.
So make a motion.
Then I'm going to make the motion that we support this resolution.
And I'll second. This is Peggy.
Great. We can open it up for comments. Ms. Bernstein?
I would just like to speak in favor of the motion. AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, is in full support of the bill. They've been working very hard to make sure that all of us as local and state unions know about the bill and are in support of it also. So thank you for the motion, Mr. Elder.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand.
I'm an affirmative, Yolanda.
Perfect. It looks like the motion has passed. So we will move. We'll move on to our last agenda item. Danette, if you would like to take the floor.
Yes, and thank you everyone for the rich discussion, and I definitely apologize for the miscommunications, and we will make sure that does not happen again. I appreciate your time in discussing the issues. We have a couple of community school bright spots, and if folks would allow us to maybe carry over for a few minutes, I would really love for you to hear from RFK Charter Community School. We can skip the mid-year data review. That's not going to change any. It's going to be what it is right now, forever. But if the board is willing to allow RFK to present their bright spot, that would be fantastic. If maybe people could raise their hands if they can stick around for a few more minutes. Fantastic. And if you have to leave, please, we understand. We don't have a problem with that at all, but we would love for you to hear what they've been doing the last few weeks. I'd like to introduce Sean Morris. He is the principal of the RFK Charter High School and has been a longtime community school principal at many schools.
Good morning, Madam Chair, ABC board members, and other guests. First, I wanted to thank each of you for your work with community schools in the city and the county. I believe this work saves lives and changes communities. So today we want to kind of go over a project that we put together in the last couple of weeks. 1, 2, 3 Eyes on Me. It was a partnership with RFK and New Mexico Appleseed. We can go to the next slide. I don't know if we have time to show this video, so we can kind of skip the video, but there is a video of this or a news report of this on KLB, so we can skip to the next. I know people have things to do. And Sierra Maple is our community coordinator, and she's on this call as well, so she's going to kind of take it over from here.
Thank you, Sean. Yes, my name is Sarah Maple. I am the community school coordinator for RFK. I've been at RFK for about a year now. This pilot was a partnership, like Sean said, between New Mexico Appleseed and RFK Charter School. And it came about through the facilitation of the ABC Community Schools Partnership. So Appleseed approached the ABC Community Schools Partnership knowing that they were a great place to start working with the schools. And so I actually met with Deanna and Danette with a group of other coordinators, and we discussed the possibilities of this 1, 2, 3 Eyes on Me pilot. And then in the following month, we actually had a meeting with Ms. Sasha Pellerin from the city of Albuquerque, who's here today, our Madam Chair, and with Nancy Rodriguez, who is with the New Mexico Association of School-Based Health Centers. In 2 separate relational meetings, they mentioned that the work that Appleseed had been doing throughout the state, and that they were interested in replicating some of the things that they had done in other more rural areas in the city of Albuquerque, and that RFK might be a great place for them to begin with that partnership. Next slide, thank you. Oh, can we go back one more? Thank you, I apologize. So essentially this partnership was a series of partnerships. The event, I'll start with telling you what the event was since you didn't get an opportunity to see the video. RFK has a monthly mobile food pantry that's offered through a partnership between the Roadrunner Food Bank and a grant from the New Mexico Foundation. We've been doing that every month for about a year now. And we worked with Appleseed to bring in a number of additional services to our mobile food pantry. Those services this time included dental services where students and community members could get dental examinations and cleanings, or not cleanings, pardon me. We're hoping to add cleanings in the future, but x-rays and examinations. We also worked with Appleseed to bring in immunizations for the flu vaccine. So there were a number of partners that were brought in by us, and then also a number of partners that were brought in by Appleseed. So Western Skies Community Care, in partnership with Walgreens, were able to provide those flu immunizations. The RFK School-Based Health Center worked with the New Mexico Association of School-Based Health Centers to provide dental cleaning kits. Mira Dental was or Mira Consulting rather, was the team that came and provided dental services. And New Mexico Appleseed and RFK worked closely together to bring the vision of the program to fruition.
So the next piece was really the teamwork and flexibility. We really only had about 2 to 3 weeks to pull this off. And we wanted to do it in a way that was safe, in a COVID safe way. We didn't want to put any of our staff or any other partner staff at risk of contracting COVID. We also wanted to limit the amount of people that were actually on our facility. So we wanted to do it in a way where we could keep people, our community members, in their cars, but then still serve them. And if they had to come out of their car, they could do it in a safe way. So you could go to the next slide. So the logistics, our school, we're lucky enough that we have a horseshoe roadway on our school, and that's Wendell Road. You can see that off of Blake there. So we basically pulled families in off of Blake on Wendell Road, and we set everything up kind of in a horseshoe. Families that needed dental and immunizations would pull into the first parking lot, and we would number their car with a marker that's like an erasable marker on their windows, so we could keep the order of who's getting shots, who's going in for dental. The other cars would go around the horseshoe and pick up their food boxes near the big building that you see near the grass. That's the gym and the main office area. All this took place though outside of the school. So the only time somebody had to come onto school grounds into a building was when they would see the dental services. We thought about figuring out a way where we could do like a canopy, some different types of tents, so that dental could actually be under a tent as well. So we could have good airflow, those types of things. We just weren't able to do that with the equipment they needed to bring in. But basically all the services took place outside of any school building, except for, like I said, the one dental building.
So in total, we served 94 families. So 94 families received food boxes and participated in the health needs survey that we did as individuals were checking in. Only 65 of those were actually families from RFK. We do open this up to individuals from schools in the surrounding area, as well as community members. So we actually had coordinators from Rio Grande and from John Adams Middle School who came and helped and who let their families know that this was available to them as well. So we had families from South Valley Academy, John Adams, and RFK all getting these services. All told, we gave about 18 influenza immunizations to 10 separate families. And then there were 2 students that received dental services, although there were adults from the community who were not counted in this total that did receive dental exams as well. So for next steps, so we're looking at a number of different next steps in collaboration with ABC and with the Appleseed, New Mexico Appleseed. So one of the things that we did after we had this event was we all got together at one table. We did a plus delta. We reviewed the data and we found that there is still a need for dental services at RFK and in the community at large. So working to make that dental service more accessible to remove some of the barriers that are still preventing our participants from receiving those dental services. And one of the ways that we talked about doing that is changing our marketing strategies and then also incorporating other schools from the area who also need dental services to ensure that our partners at Mira Consulting are able to have a full day of dental services with a full schedule that can serve the entire community.
And we're also looking to add like vision and some other type medical services that our community needs, our families need. I kind of wanted to give a quick shout out to all the community coordinators. As Superintendent Elder said, they're really the glue that keeps this going. So I just want to say that they're all across the city. They're doing a great job. And a lot of them are doing food pantries just like we are every month, and just want to kind of give them a shout out because they all do a great job. And we stand for questions if you have any. I know people have to get going to other meetings and whatnot, but we have some time.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the presentation and what beautiful work. My son went to RFK for a hot minute. He's 25 now, so that was a while back. But I also I go to Aveda school for my hair, and the young woman who does my hair often said she went to RFK and graduated there, and she talked so much about the teachers she encountered and how it got her back into school, and when she didn't think she was going to graduate, and now she's going on to build her career with furthering her education. So just wanted to give lots of props, and this looks amazing, and the work you're doing within community is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It's wonderful work. It's definitely my community. I grew up right around the corner, so amazing work, and thank you so much for the presentation, Sean.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I think we need a motion to adjourn. Someone wants to make a motion?
I motion to adjourn. This is Brooke Bassan.
I'll second it. So our next meeting is March 11th. Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate your work, and we'll see you next month.